As the close of one year invites us to reflect and I guess assess where we're at, let's not fall into these heavier, denser energies that might be circulating, or karmic cycles and loops that might be pulling us back into bad habits, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. Let it also be a time for merriment and celebration. And I don't mean in a Christmas festive way. I mean that we have all achieved something this year. We're still alive. And RIP to those who have departed, because I've been around a lot of local celebrations for an uncle and some people that have left the realm this week. And there's been themes of grief and loss and grieving past identities and grieving past versions of ourselves that don't serve us any longer, that maybe hold us in a lack mindset, that maybe do not root us in the abundance that we deserve, and that is our birthright. These old patternings that are coming round, as it could just be me. I'm on a land where I wasn't born on, so I'm still sort of slightly, I won't say programmed, but influenced by the winter that is descending upon my birth culture, with the winter solstice and various other changes, seasonal changes that come with moving into the cave months, the darker months, the hibernation, the purging. A lot of people who I'm in contact with are moving through some healing. I don't really like to say the word illness anymore, because we're constantly healing, and our body is a magical miracle and can overcome many, many things, as long as we're intentional about what we do to our mind, body and soul, and what we put into our vessel, and who we're surrounded by. But it's sort of just had an intense meditation session and a night of mosquitoes biting me, so I'm a little bit pulled into different directions. But some of the themes that are coming up at the minute is to allow for the grief that comes with these endings, these final chapters of a year. You know, the year of the snake. There's many rebirths and transformations that a lot of us have experienced, especially in this later season, even daily, weekly, you know, really just burning old identities that don't serve us, that don't serve love. Love is the mission. Love as a way of expanding into our I'll use the word birthright, keeps coming through. Birthright, like what we're entitled to as pure souls on the realm, and it's time for us to claim that. You know, acting in conscious, loving relationships. Like what I realise as I learn to overcome my own negative habits or patterning, which is it's a cycle. You know, you can get to a really good peak and something might bring us back, and it's easier than the last time, and then we were brought back here, but it's still it might feel like a reverse. But then we can get a propel forward if we start to address things that come up in healthier ways. And you know, this might be overwhelm or conflict or disagreement, like just trusting that operating from our higher self, like through love, even if we want to lean into like pain and suffering, that's all a choice, and it's kind of an illusion, because there are infinite possibilities. Right now, there are multiple timelines that bring us to places of deep internal peace and love. And to not embrace those, and to 441 back on the clock, to not embrace those, and to want to push away safety and love, to want to push away vulnerability, will only find us in more pain. And so, yeah, these feelings of grief and loss and various like identity shifts are what is circling in my personal self lived environment, and what I'm observing around me and what I'm hearing from conversations that I'm involved in. And I guess it's just a time to continually slow down, to not get trapped or pulled into the dramatic outbursts that one might hear on news streams, or reactionary approaches to how news and information is shared. We don't get pulled into the reactionary propaganda or overloading of a succession of events that sees a lot of people go through pain and destruction in the world right now. We can't deny these things are happening. That's part of how the rebalancings happen. When the pendulum swung too far one way, it has to come back, and that obviously involves unfortunate pain and bloodshed. I don't think utopia exists, but I do believe that our birthright as humans on the realm is safety, shelter, food, and love and intimacy. And outside those four basic elements or pillars of how we are all how we are all entitled, how we all deserve to live, nothing really matters, or we shouldn't attach to anything outside of those. I mean, I'm experiencing hustle culture in different ways to where I was raised. I'm experiencing seasonal changes, low season, high season, differently to how I've experienced it in a consumerist society. And they're all very interesting lessons for me, sometimes overwhelming because I observe certain things that make me upset. Just as a woman who feels deeply and I guess trusts that change will come, and this is revelation times, and this is the tables turning, this is the ships coming in, this is the evolution of our species to a point where not many of us have been to before, and not many of us will go. It's a select group, that still could be millions, but it's a select group of souls who choose it, who keep choosing love over hurt and pain, who keep coming back to love in all of our choices. You know, I think love, the highest form of love, I read something recently and it resonated, and also just comes through in meditation, is consideration. It's like, you know, we can't expect anything off of another person. We can't have expectations of us other than love and consideration. You know, how do our actions, how do our words impact our own mental state and also those around us? And that's why a lot of relationships over the past year and moving forward are being tested and also being released from any form of like bond or attachment, just because those who cannot root themselves in compassion, those who cannot root themselves in consideration, i.e. this person might be living a different lifestyle life to me, and they've also made their own sacrifices and their own choices to find themselves in the present moment. Like, why would I want to say something that would hurt them? Why would I want to share anything other than like curiosity, love and respect? Why would I want to not consider their feelings? And as some of my relationships over the past year have dissolved, I still hold love for people, but there's some interesting unfolding, there's some interesting revelations that happen in relationships when you step out of what you have been expected to do, when you stop acting and playing small, and when you change the narrative when you realise that actually some people in your life have had certain projections, have had certain views and opinions on what you'd end up doing or what you'd end up achieving or what you wouldn't achieve, i.e. they've placed limited 10 new beginnings, they've placed boxes on someone that's not them. Like, they can place boxes on themselves, but they've placed boxes on what me, for example, might achieve in my life, or what I might be moving towards, or my capabilities. And I've had to release those limiting relationships because they're not ultimately rooted in love, they're rooted in attachment. And I don't believe any of us need to be attached to anything. Nobody needs to be codependent. We need to be interdependent, and we need to be aware of the interconnectedness of all beings, and unity consciousness, and how my mind and my health, my state of being influences the environment around me and what I'm drawing towards me. And behaviour and patterning and addiction and various things, it will change the vibration that we are existing in. And if we choose and want to choose love and want to choose our highest timelines, we have to break those attachments to old coping mechanisms and old ways of being and old ways of expecting things from another. And I certainly don't get it right all the time, but the intention is there. My awareness of it is higher and greater than I've ever had it in my life, like of what is healthy behaviour and what is not. And also when things dip for me, as emotional beings, we flow into the light, into the darkness, is not to judge myself as I move through my own deprogramming or deconditioning or reconditioning into love and consideration as the beacons of my life. I don't hold animosity or jealousy or love energies towards others. We just, over time, you see the patterning of people's behaviour towards us and what is acceptable and what is not, and what we're going to start to distance ourselves from and what we invite in. And there's a lot of conversations that I've had at the moment is to do with loss and grief and change and old identities or relationships of friendships that we're grieving and releasing. And that's also part of the love vibration, is that we honour ourselves and we honour our vessel, we honour the emotions, and we allow those periods to not dominate excessively, days and days and weeks and weeks and months, because then that can end up in longer term issues. But we allow periods of pain or heaviness or grief to just move, and for us to reflect and root in, either groundedness, presence, like good food, good exercise, good nourishment, like not being on our phones all the time, trying to find some full content, whether it's written or oral or musical, to refresh our being, to revitalise our cells and our brains with goodness and joy. Because sometimes it might seem there isn't a lot of joy around us, and that's an illusion. There's beauty in simplicity and in scaling back and in minimising, and not believing that we're missing out or that we can't afford things. No, it's just choosing to live a life of non-attachment, of practicing presence rather than escapism, and of being mindful of what we create in our reality. And I trust that who we invite into our day-to-day and who we release is rooted in love, true love and consideration. as our highest self can guide us to some beautiful interactions and opportunities right now. So 15 minutes, but getting a bit long. I went a bit deep. Meds was a bit emotional today, but if we're not meditating right now, please try to meditate, connect with the elements, the water, however you can. Please try to release any stagnant blocks, and please try to come back to the heart, come back to love as our pure state, and let's try not to let the stresses, the perceived stresses, because there shouldn't really be any, because we're built to survive this realm, is let's not get wiped or washed away in any of that overwhelm. Is just take things slowly day to day. No one can plan or exist in the ways that have come before now. It's just because time and frequencies just changed the perception of it for many of us. So I will try to leave on a positive note, make way for new beginnings, for love, prosperity, good health, good cheer, merriment if one celebrates the festive season. But I also know it can be a challenging emotional time for everybody, and I just trust that we don't live beyond our means, and that we remember the true reasons of these Christmas festive end of time, where some of us get time off work and just it's about being together with loved ones and sharing time and fun and conviviality and good food, simple things, and remembering why we're alive.